Hello boys and girls of the internet and fans of very fast car. Today's video I will be reviewing F1 2021 liveries and rating them from best to worst. Right here we have a tier list and we have them rating from sexy to awful. And we're going to start them off inside the order that the cars were released in. Please remember before I start this list that this is a list from my own opinion. If you think any way other, let me know in the comment section. First up, we have the MCL35M. One of the things that I immediately noticed about this car is that this section around the rear here, they changed the design of the rainbow. I really like that rainbow design trailing off the side pods on the last car. This one is a little bit different. I still like the colors blending from the blue all the way down to the green at the very end. The McLaren being a bright, vibrant orange and blue car really makes you forget that there's a lot of black bits on the car, especially the rear wing. This is pretty much a carbon black, and then if you look under the front nose, this whole section right here is also the carbon black. There's really no need to add the extra paint there, especially underneath there, depending on what you're doing. Obviously, if you're changing a lot of things underneath here a lot, there's no point trying to add color there. I really like the McLaren a lot. I think it's gonna go inside good looking. It's a nice livery. I liked it on the old one. I like the new one. Even though it's the same livery, it still looks nice. Next up, we have the AlphaTorii AT02. With this car, they essentially inverted the livery, putting a lot more blue on the top sections of it and all the way down on the nose. In all honesty, I like this a lot less than the old AlphaTorii livery, but there's still parts of the livery change that I do like a lot. I like how the blue comes down onto the nose here. It reminds me a little bit of the Williams from 2009. Yeah, the AlphaTorii kind of reminds me of this car right here. I think where the car fails the most is this section at the bottom here where it kind of like curves a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of that, you know. I don't think it looks bad, I just think it could look better. I wish that they fully committed and made the car a little bit more blue and maybe got rid of some of the white, or maybe showed the white inside a different light. We're gonna put the AlphaTorii at the top of decent. Next up, we have the Alfa Romeo C41. This is a nice looking car, right? I'm always a big fan of the Alfa Romeo F1 cars. I love the blend of the white and this red, this burgundy red. I don't know what's the exact name of the color. Obviously, this livery is pretty much them inverting last year's livery and moving the red part from the top down to the bottom where it is now. And despite them making that big of a change to the rear of the car, I still think it looks nice. They also have a lot of sponsors on this car. Like, I never really noticed how much logos was on this car. You know, some of the other cars here on this list, like the Williams, they have about like 2 or 3 like sponsor logos. The Haas pretty much has 1. So it's interesting to see the difference in teams on the grid. Even though this is midfield, more so end of the field car, it has a lot of backing, which is nice. We're gonna put the Alfa Romeo C41 into good looking. You know what? We're gonna move it ahead of the McLaren. Up next, we have the Red Bull RB16B. This car is pretty much the same car that Red Bull has been using since 2016. A lot of people are bored of this car. They've changed their fire suits a million times. They've changed the merch design a million times, but this car remains the same. And you know what? It's a decent looking livery. It's a good looking livery. I think people will genuinely drag this lower and lower on their list as the years go down on how good this looks, just because they feel like it's aged. If they use this any longer, it's going to become like the Ferrari red. It's just going to be a staple of Red Bull Racing's history. Pretty much the only changes from this and last year's car is that there's a Honda logo instead of Aston Martin on the rear wing. There's also Telcel on the front wing inside of the end plate. Telcel is a Mexican telecommunications company, a sponsor that Sergio Perez brought on when he joined the team. I think the Red Bull is gonna go at the tail end of good looking. It's a nice looking car. Up next on our list is the Mercedes W12, and I am excited first of all that they continue to use the black. It's back here again for another year. I'm excited. I think that the black fits Mercedes' personality a lot more than the silver. a team that has dominated this era, a team that is the most aggressive when it comes to developing, when it comes to dominating on track. It's a lot more mean. It's a lot more menacing. When people see this car, they're immediately gonna jump to this area on the back, on the engine cover, where it's basically a ton of AMG logos. Even Mercedes making jokes about it themselves, saying, look how much AMG logos we can slap on the back of this. I'm still kind of mixed about it. It's nice that Mercedes went through the effort of trying something new, and it shows that they're not afraid to try something different when it comes to their car design, and I like that. You think a car with red and this Petronas blue wouldn't look that nice, but this car looks amazing. In this photo specifically, the car looks a lot more matte. I love how they changed the Petronas blue on the front wing. It's now just a solid color instead of some neon lines, some Ineos branding on the end plates there. This is a sexy car. It's gonna go in sexy. Next on our list, we have the Alpine F1. This is a sexy car. When they unveiled this with the backdrop of some Alpine mountains, this car looked absolutely beautiful. This car doesn't look that different from all of the fan renders that have been circulating online. I think the weakest point of this car is the front wing, in that there's pretty much nothing on it. I don't know if that was on purpose. I don't know if there's supposed to be another company here. And in this render specifically, it looks like rubber. The wing looks like it's made out of rubber. But I am excited that this car is on the grid this year, and I am excited to see how this thing looks when it glimmers in the sun. When these cars are in the renders, they can tend to look a little bit weird. It's when these cars get in the sunlight out on the racetrack, maybe even in the rain, where they look their best. We're gonna put it, you know what? We're gonna put it, ooh, we're gonna come out to the top of the list, right? I'm mixed between the Mercedes and the Alpine, because they're two really nice looking cars. Now we have the Aston Martin AMR 21. This car, it mixed me the wrong way when it was released. It reminds me of a bottle of Perrier. I was expecting the design to be more so like what we have here, but obviously they went inside a different direction. When I knew that BWT was going to be in the car, I was thinking, how do you make pink and green mixed together? And this one looked a little bit weird at first, but it's starting to grow on me. It could look better if you change some stuff, but I still think it looks pretty sexy. One last point I want to bring up with this car before I rate it is the fact that these liveries look so much nicer on the track, as I mentioned before. These Sebastian Vettel driving it around, and you can see there's a lot more detail that you missed out at first. I think at first it was just in like good looking, but I think over the course of time, as it grows on me, it's going to go up into the sexy section. Up next, we have the Haas VF21. This is one of the most shocking points of the F1 livery unveils. When you look at this car, you immediately notice how much red, white, and blue it is. And not red, white, and blue for America, red, white, and blue for Russia. Uralkali is pretty much the title sponsor of this car besides Haas. If you don't know what Uralkali is, it is a company owned and chairman by Nikita Mazepan's father, Dmitry Mazepan, and it is one of the world's largest producers of potash. Potash is basically one of the main ingredients inside fertilizer, and it's one of the things that allows you to just go to a store and buy an abundance of groceries and be able to eat without having to produce your own food. And it makes it a lot more easier for us to live our daily lives and to do stuff like review Formula 1 cars. But if you look at the research behind the company Uralkali, you know that they have a history of causing sinkholes inside towns across Russia. But obviously inside F1, money comes before anything else. So if they're bringing a lot of money, they're gonna be there, right? The team's gonna say yes, and which was one of the reasons why you didn't see them rush to move Nikita Mazepan out of the seat. If Nikita was a driver who brought no funding, or somebody who brought a lot less funding than he did now, it would be a lot easier to remove him from that seat. But you can see how much money him and his father is bringing to F1 because they basically rebranded the car to be the Uralkali car. Uralkali, however you pronounce it. It's interesting how they did the design for the Russian car, because the car is obviously predominantly white. They still incorporated the white part of the flag right in between here. I like the circle cut out for the numbers. It's old school. If you're a Russian, this is a pretty patriotic car, but I don't know if it's actually gonna race this year because it's being investigated. But this car looks very much like a car that's gonna spend the majority of its time trailing at the back of the grid. I think it's not a bad looking car. I wouldn't say it's good looking. I'd say it's decent. Okay, now we have the Williams racing car. This car, they went really aggressive with it. They went esports with this livery, and I really liked that they went that direction. They basically cast aside all of the normal F1 norms. They basically went their own route with this one. Williams esports is actually really good. Like, I don't know much about sim racing. All I know is that I constantly see that Williams esports is winning stuff. Maybe it's good that they went with the esports S livery this time around in normal F1. It could possibly be the sign that they're going on the way up, which is nice. I want to see Williams back where they belong, at the front of the field. One of the things that I'm going to talk about first is the Williams W. I don't mind the Williams W being there, but it seems a little bit odd that Lavazza, the coffee company, is at this spot on the engine cover / shark fin. It's a little bit of an odd spot to put a logo there, especially when they're giving you money. It'd probably been better if they put the Lavazza like right there or something. Another big thing is these orange highlights, which I think orange and blue is a nice color to match with. It reminds me a lot more of the heyday of Williams when they were winning championships, competing at the front of the field with the blue, the white, and the orange yellow. They basically brought back the iconic colors of Williams, but in a new and futuristic way. This car sends a big statement of intent from Williams. With a car like this, they're definitely going to be spotted on the TV cameras, and hopefully they can be spotted close to the front this year. Last but not least, we have the Ferrari, the SF21. With a Ferrari, you don't have to do much for it to be a nice livery. It's an iconic color. The Ferrari is going to be red every year, and then there's going to be some designs on it. Maybe it's the Italian flag, maybe it's some white here, maybe it's some black. But this car, they went in a interesting and weird direction. First of all, if you look at the car from about here, from this line forward, it looks pretty solid. The number font looks like a paintbrush, but I think that looks nice. I like the number font. From this line forward, it is a nice livery. But where Ferrari really mess up is from that section back. There, that's good. Ignore my bad handwriting. From here on backwards, weird. First of all, why is the Mission Renault logo green? Like, I don't know what was the exact statement that they wanted to make. It's definitely, the logo is definitely a lot more noticeable. It doesn't look bad, it just looks a bit odd on a Ferrari. Everything else on the car matches except that. You know, you have the Shell logo, which is red and yellow. Red and yellow work well together. You have the UPS logo, which is a bit more of an orange yellow, but it looks fine. And then you have this big green chevron arrow thing on the back here. But I don't think that's the worst part of the car. I think it's just super weird at this random spot in here. It looks like they ran out of paint. It looks like they ran out of the much brighter shade of red, and they just had to use the burgundy paint left over. That's what it looks like. I think my illustration right here saying good and weird is a perfect way to sum up this car, because it's not a ugly car. It just looks weird at the rear end. I'm gonna put you at the bottom of decent. All right, it's on the verge of going like ew because of the rear, but I think the front of the car is good enough for it to at least go here. And in all honesty, I think it's better than the Haas. You know, I think this is going to be the list. Thank you all for watching this far into the video. There's a link in the description for this tier list if you want to make your own. If you want to comment what you think your picks are from 1 to 10, let me know. This is Drayden from DK Media, and I'll see you in the next one.